All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Best Self Blueprint. As you all know, the mission of this podcast is to bring on people who have the knowledge, insights, and experiences that'll help you pursue that best version of yourself, whatever that means to you. So this next guest, I had the great opportunity of meeting at the OCR World. I figured I'd rep it a little bit. So she's making a really big impact in a lot of different athletic areas, from throwing down with the Titans on the show, the Titan Games, to running with the world's best endurance athletes in 100-mile ultra races. She's shown that she can contend in basically any athletic arena. She also has completed the 4x4x48, a half Ironman, and is one of the top OCR and DecaFit athletes in the world. She's got the medals to prove it. And she races for the Grit Fitness Pro Team. And even on her rest days, she is doing mountain hikes and even the rim to rim to rim challenge. I'll let her explain what that is. So pretty much just always moving, always creating adventure and pursuing what she wants to do and be great doing it. And I cannot wait to introduce her. Kris Rugloski, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for the introduction.
It is crazy the amount of different things you're able to do. Like, so I will say, full disclosure, I saw the first time I ever saw you or heard of you was on the Titan Games. So my preconceived notion of anyone on that show was they're meatheads. All they do is lift. They're like not able to do other stuff. And then all of a sudden I see you at an obstacle course race, and that just threw me for a total loop. So what kind of training do you do that allows you to like lift with the lifters, run with the runners, and just like contend in all these different spots?
I work out at Grit Fitness. I work out there. I'm on their pro team. I coach some of their group classes. Honestly, I mean, the number one goal is just functional fitness. Functional fitness, CrossFit has kind of taken over that corner, like, oh, functional fitness is CrossFit. Functional fitness is literally just like fitness for life. We do a lot of kettlebell work, a lot of body weight work. We've kind of got its start from obstacle course racing. So there's a heavy influence from the obstacle course racing world on being, to run an obstacle course race, you really don't have to be extra strong, extra fast. You just kind of have to be able to like move your body functionally. And so we have a lot of obstacles we have 3 different locations. And we have a lot of the obstacles in the gyms. We have a lot of just like regular everyday people that work out with us. And our big focus is like, we want you to be able to move well for a long time. So our workouts are very, there's, varying levels. They're very achievable for everybody. We have a big focus on like stretching. Like if you can't show up the next day, there's no point. And then the obstacles, we kind of bring it into these normal everyday people as like, why not see fitness as more of what you can achieve instead of just like trying to get to a certain weight, trying to get to a certain appearance. Like, let's see if you make it across the monkey bars. Let's see if you can climb a rope, like real measurable, achievable things that carry over to more than just like lifting weights in the gym. So with that kind of background, that was really kind of Spartan race and then Grit have kind of been my introduction to fitness. Before that, I was just I kind of came into it pretty young. And I didn't do any kind of working out. I was just active. I worked at horse ranches, did a lot, just like outdoor activity, and kind of was opposed to gyms. I was like, I don't care about lifting weights and being super fit or anything. Like, I just want to be able to like live a good life. So Spartan racing and the Grit has really kind of fed into that and given me kind of a more like approach, like what works for me. Like I'm fairly naturally athletic. Like I kind of have a lot going for me, but it's been really cool to see other people be able to kind of adapt that lifestyle and have a actual approach to be able to like, okay, we want to be like functionally fit and be able to do the things we want to do, which for most people is not. For some people, their biggest goal is to be able to lift 400 pounds. For most people, they want to be able to spend time with family. They want to be able to enjoy the outdoors. They want to be able to, do yard work, whatever it is. And so all of that kind of mashed together, that's kind of how I approach fitness is like a means to an end. I don't care about how much weight you can lift, how fast you run, that kind of thing. Like, what are you actually doing with that? And then I've probably taken that to a bit of an extreme. Like, I kind of want to do everything. Like, if people are doing it, I want to do it. So yeah, that's kind of that training approach has kind of brought me into, it's opened being around, being in OCR, getting to meet, athletic people has really opened my eyes to like what the human body is like capable of. And then I just like to push those limits. Like, why not do it all?
Yeah. So you're in good company. I mean, I call it like the life resume, like the stuff that you've done with fitness is just insane. Like for anyone who actually like doesn't know who Kris is or like follow her, just go look at the stuff she's done. She's built quite the life resume, but I want to really touch on what you were talking about, because this is my mindset when I'm coaching people and in my own life is there are a lot of people, they come into the gym to lose weight or to lose fat. But by the end of it, like what really motivates them is those functional aspects of it. Like they can move faster, they can jump higher, they can lift heavier, they can actually do these things like you're talking about that afford them to go actually use those. Because I'm the same way. Like if you can lift a lot, but that's not applicable to what you're doing in your life, it's cool. And if that amps you up, all the power to you. But I like the approach too of let's go see what you can do with this. Like, let's see what you can use this meat suit called our human body. Like, let's see what it's actually capable of. So I really like that approach.
Yeah, for sure. And we have people, I mean, just living life. Like we have a lot of older people and they're, able to get down to the ground and pick up their keys now without an issue, like actual things that like really make a difference. Are they getting fitter? Are they getting slimmer? Are they losing weight? Absolutely. But more importantly, they're actually like able to do things they haven't been able to do or have had difficulty doing. So I get to see that on a daily basis. And that really makes me, really excited to kind of do the things that are difficult for me. I think it was actually the Iron Cowboy had said once, like, find your hard was his thing. He did his 50 Ironmans in 50 different states. And he was like, for many people, that's totally unachievable. For him, it was a challenge for him. But his thing was like, everybody has those challenges in their lives. There was, I think his mom ran like 5Ks or something. And like, that was her hard thing. And so I see people every day finding their hard and, working for it, working hard to be able to accomplish the thing that's hard for them. And that's really inspiring to me to like, okay, what's my hard? And, everybody's hard is going to look different. It's going to look different for everybody, but everybody has something hard that they can push to accomplish. And I love to see that, get to watch that, and then also get to do that as well. It's kind of, I like that.
And what I like about, by the way, the Iron Cowboy is another one of those people that just blows my mind. But
yeah,
what's cool about that is that's applicable outside of health and fitness too. Like everyone is like a fingerprint. Like no two people are going to be the same. And I call it like pretty similar. I say like, what's your Everest? So like there are people who like Everest is their Everest. And then there are people who getting out of bed and going for a walk is their Everest. And whatever that is to you, don't compare it to someone else, because then there's inevitably another area of life where like maybe in finance, my Everest would be saving X amount of money and another person's would be saving Y amount of money. And so not trying to pigeonhole yourself by comparing to other people, but like you're talking about, identify the areas of your life that really are most meaningful to you and figure out what it looks like to pursue that Everest in those areas.
Yeah. To pursue that high goal, that achievement, that level of satisfaction. And, it looks different for everybody. For me, I'm kind of a outlier in that, like, I have to run 100-milers. Like, to me, like, those are the things that are difficult to me. But for most people, like, don't feel like just because you're not doing all the crazy things, like literally everybody has something hard that they're accomplishing. And I think I really like the OCR World, all of this, because so many of these people, like, this is the hardest thing they've ever done. And they're out there doing it. And to me, that's just like so cool to watch. Like, this is their biggest challenge ever. And I like being a part of that. I like seeing that. And then it's really motivating for me to kind of do the hard things for me as well.
Well, just like surrounding yourself with people willing to put themselves in that situation. I think that's where it gets really cool, is not comparing your difficult to their difficult, but having the community of people who are all resonating at that level of like, I'm going to go pursue what's really difficult to me and cheer you on while you're going to go pursue what's difficult to you. And we're just going to keep amping each other up and cheering each other on.
Yeah.
And so that is why I think it's so important. Like, you've got your pro team. I've also got a race team and like training partners. I'm sure you've got people you train with, and to find people who have that mentality of not just doing it to check the box of doing it, but doing it for that meaningful purpose behind, like, let's see what we're actually capable of here. I think that just creates that longevity, as opposed to if someone's just doing it because they know they should be doing it. That's like eating your raw broccoli. Like, I actually like raw broccoli, but like there are a lot of people who don't. And if you're only eating it for the sake of, it's just something to do, that's not as good as, putting together like a tasty meal that you actually enjoy cooking, you enjoy eating. And it's the same thing with fitness, where you need to cultivate that meaningful, like, let me just backtrack. Everything that's on your list, you have a passion around. Like, you have that like passionate pursuit of like, I want to go do this crazy stuff. For some people, I think it might actually fall more towards the consistency end of like, I want to work out or move my body 100 days in a row.
Yeah.
And so it's, again, finding that meaning, finding that purpose. So yeah, I just think that's an amazing way to look at it.
Yeah. It's really, I mean, it's brought me to where I am, and I'm lucky to be in a community of people that, like you said, surrounding yourself with people like that. Like, a lot of these people are parents, they have kids, they have jobs, and, being able, like, coming to the gym and be able to challenge themselves in that area. Like, they don't have, not everybody is able to, or even wants to, travel around and do all these crazy things. But everybody wants to find that meaning, that satisfaction, and that level of like achievement. And yeah, it comes in any different level. And it's not just about like checking off boxes. It's about doing something that, has long-term benefits to it.
Agreed. So one thing I'm curious about for you, this is a question that I got asked because, and again, there's tiers to these things. So like my friends who aren't all out fitness junkies, like people we tend to be around during these races and stuff.
Yeah.
When they're around me, they'll say like, oh, I went for a run, but I only ran like 3 miles, because they know the distances that I'm running. And I'm like, no, trust me, there's people out there like you who are doing 100-milers. Like that doesn't fit in my brain right now. So there are tiers to these things. But what I'm curious is, someone asked me this, like, what do you think is like better or more important, the intensity, so like these big crazy challenges, or the consistency, like showing up every day and putting in work?
The consistency is always going to take you farther. And you can't have the intensity without the consistency. I've always been a chaser of that intensity. I obviously enjoy the intensity, the really hard challenges, the really high highs, you get those low lows. But without the consistency, it really, like, it's kind of a dead end. And I think that's also like in everyday life as well. If all you're doing is chasing that constant high, that constant intensity, like it's just a constant high and then a low. It's the consistency I think that's consistency. That's been a big struggle for me. And I've been doing this for like, I guess like 3 to 4 years now. And it's really, this past year has been one of the most consistent. Well, 2020 ended up being a very consistent year for me. And it really set me up well for 2021. Without the consistency, you can't have that intensity. And I think, a lot of people will find that out on their own. A lot of people, I think for a while kind of had that intensity. I really like racing. I really love racing. And I don't enjoy working out every day, but it took me a little while, and definitely didn't take me a while, but I realized to be successful, you have to have that consistency. So it's kind of a balance of both. I think it's important to have those intensity like goals, to have, your big something you're working towards. But if you don't have the consistency, like, you're going to struggle. There's a good chance. You're not going to do as well. I've seen, of course, you see that here at the gym. I've seen people that are like, oh, I want to, do a trifecta in a year. I want to, so they set these big goals and then just kind of leave it there. And the trifecta comes around and they like barely make their way through each race, but like they're dying. And then there's people that show up every day, decide to do a couple races, but it's the consistency every day that shows up in those big intensity things. So I don't know if that really answers the question. Like, I think you can't have the same satisfaction in that intensity without the consistency of the everyday. You can't really have one without the other. And if you have, some people really thrive on the consistency, but I think they thrive more if they have a intensity goal. So you can't just have consistency either. Like, we've had people that come to the gym every day, don't ever do anything. But things switch when they get an intensity goal. So yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents, I guess.
Yeah, no,
Both
that's a
are
good
important.
answer.
You can't have one without
I'm
the other.
curious which one of these you resonate with more. So my 2 differing answers to this. The first one is, I think it's called an EKG that measures like your heartbeat, right?
Right.
Okay, just making sure I got that right.
I
Okay,
think
so
so.
like for your heartbeat, when it shows up, it goes like boop, and then it kind of drops a little lower and then goes back to the flat line.
Yeah.
So that to me was how I used to explain it to people, was like, you need the consistency until you get to the point where boom, you're ready to do that crazy event. And then you need the recovery time, and then you go back into the consistency. So that was my first way to explain it. Now I think about it like consistently building intensity. So as you're piling on that consistency, you're not staying flat, you're actually kind of moving up. So I think about it like, if your stocks are doing well, ideally this is what it would look like, where there are like ups and downs, but then there's that spike that goes up and then it keeps going up a little bit. So for me, there's always going to be that spike with the intensity, but the goal is to have that mix, like not to just go like intense, and then boom, all of a sudden you're like cooked for a month.
Yeah.
But to build that intensity, get back into that consistency, and then it kind of starts stacking. So like with you, I'm just going to go ahead and assume this 100-miler wasn't your first race. It was probably like you ran a 5K or a 10K. That felt good. So you kept training, did maybe like a half marathon. That felt good. You kept training, did a marathon, and built your way up. It's not very often you'll find someone just go out and do a 100-mile race. And so I think that's a good analogy for whatever goal you do have. Like, use that consistency to layer on, so that the intense portion doesn't seem like this giant mountain. It's just, something you've been building towards.
Right. And I would say it's probably a little bit different for everybody. Like for some people, it's that regular consistency, that one level of thing of intensity, and they're back to consistent, they're good to go. And I would say it just kind of depends on the person. Like, as long as you keep that consistency going, it really doesn't matter so much if you're actually building and getting more and more difficult, or if you're just consistently working. Challenge yourself every once in a while, just keep up the consistency. Like, so I wouldn't say there's really one way that's better or another. I'm definitely on that, like, let's like max all the way out. I have the consistency during the week, and then I like to kind of go all out on the weekends. But yeah, it kind of, as again, like I would come back to the consistency. Like, you have to be consistently doing something to either allow for that crazy thing every once in a while, or to be, steadily building up on things. But yeah, it definitely, you can't just go from 0 to nothing. You gotta consistently work towards something, whatever that is. You'll eventually get there. And for some, just builds or quickly ramps up to it, a little bit of both.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think my bias comes from, I have that similar mindset to you, where like, I do want to keep ramping it up. Like, I just want to keep seeing what that next level actually feels like. But as someone who's done very far ultra endurance races, I call it like the pain cave. Like, you hit a certain point in the race, especially if you're like really pushing your pace, where like you almost have to just get comfortable with like being a little uncomfortable. You're someone I think has a lot more fun with like pushing the pace. So like, what's your mindset as you go through these like really long races where it's just like you and your thoughts? what is your thought process to kind of keep you like pushing that pace throughout?
Um, I would say I would say it's a level of confidence. I go into anything that's challenging with some level of like, I'm confident that I can do this. Like if people can do it, I can do it. I had a little bit of this year, even I did a lot of ultras like in January. I didn't do anything ultra until I did 200 miles this at the end of the summer here. So I went into those with a little bit of like, there's some room for like, maybe like my body just isn't ready for this. But I always try to kind of dismiss those with like, no, I like the mental does matter. And if I confidently like I can and I will, I can do it, you know? So I would say I go into it with a certain level of confidence, confidence in my training, confidence in my body, confidence in my capabilities. Um, Another big thing, the mental part plays such a huge part in it. And I found in the longer things, the endurance things, like I've just like, I'm a very, like, I'm just really happy to be alive. And so I found like in the midst of those really hard things, if you just take a second and like, how lucky are we to be alive in this moment, to be able to experience this? Like, even if it's challenging, even if it's hard, like on these 100 milers, like you're in the middle of nowhere, just like running to this beautiful country. And like, how lucky are we to be alive and to be able to experience this? And I've had to, sometimes I'll have to like consciously like remind myself of that. Like, because I hit points where I'm like, I don't feel like running. I don't feel like being out here. Like, why am I not just in bed? And then I realized like, not everybody gets to do this. Like, not everybody wants to do this. Not everybody gets to do this. And like, how lucky am I to be alive, to be out here, to be for my body to be able to do this? And like, it's a struggle, but I'm capable of it. I can do it. And like, it's just such a privilege. Like, not everybody gets to do that. I think that kind of comes from, went through I think when I was like 17, I was on the scene of an accident where these two children died. And it like really changed my mindset of like, just kind of like an appreciation for life. And it was a huge turning point for me of realizing like, I mean, life is just like so precious and it's gone just like that. And all the things, the little things that we think matter, the little things that are so important, like in the bigger scheme of things, they're so insignificant. And like, I just think it's such a gift that we're able to be alive, to be able to experience these things, to be able to challenge all the things that we get to do. Like, so many people don't even get to experience that. And it's just such a gift to be able to experience all that. So I think it kind of comes back. It's like I'm just grateful, really grateful to be alive, to be able to experience these things, to be able to push myself in these ways. And with that attitude, like I'm confident that like I can make it through, like I will survive. Like, because there's moments where it's like, oh, I'm probably just gonna die. And then you're like, no, like I'm so lucky to be here. So yeah, it's kind of, I would say that's kind of what it comes down to
Wow. Well,
for
first
me.
of all, thank you for sharing that. That actually was going to be one of my next questions was, have you ever had or seen a near-death experience? Because that's something I am in that boat. It was user error. I was rock climbing and scrambling in a situation I shouldn't have been, and it was almost
Yeah.
lights out. And same for me. Like it really gave me that perspective of now I have an unwavering gratitude practice where when my alarm goes off in the morning, or like first thing I do is before I get out of bed, I just think about how amazing it is that I'm actually here. Like I'm
Yeah.
alive. I'm able to
Yeah.
experience whether the day is amazing or stressful or whatever may come. Like the fact that I get to be here and experience whatever that day has to offer is so amazing. And that's actually, I have a similar mindset around a lot of this stuff is during whether it's like a really hard workout or a race that to me is really hard, I'm always going back to that same thing of like I'm so blessed to be healthy, to be able to do this. So like let's just see. Like I also have that I go back to what your guy, the Iron Cowboy, talks about, where he says like you need both the physical and the mental.
Yeah.
Because if you're physically perfectly capable of doing it, but your mind quits on you, it's not going to matter. Just like if you're 100% confident mentally, but physically you just aren't able to do it, then it doesn't matter. And so I think I'm almost more mentally strong to the point where sometimes I've said like, oh yeah, I could do that, no problem. And then I go do it. I'm like, okay, nope, that was a test that got me. But
Yeah, I can definitely, what do you call it? I can empathize with that.
Yep.
Definitely
Yeah.
experience that.
Which it's one of those like really humbling experiences that I think I've learned to appreciate, where like it's like, okay, now I know where that equilibrium meets between mental and physical. But going back to the like gratitude portion, I think that's one of the most powerful tools anyone can have. I'm by no means telling people like go seek a near death experience or anything like that, but just be grateful. Like
Yeah.
understand how quickly and like, first of all, inevitably death is going to come to you, but like
Mm-hmm.
we don't know, an asteroid could come out of nowhere, it could knock you out, lights out, game over. And so like just to be able to like get up, make the most of the day, whatever it brings, I think that's such an amazing mindset to have. And I'm
Yeah.
sure anyone listening who's gotten to this point would really, really appreciate hearing that.
Yeah. Actually, my alarm song in the morning it's kind of funny, but it's song, I think it's just called Me by Megan Trainor. And the chorus is basically like, I thank God every day that I wake up feeling this way. I can't really know how it goes after that, but
I think
that's
I know
literally
what song
my,
you're thinking about.
yeah, it's basically like, if I were you, I'd want to be me too, you know. But that first, the beginning of the chorus is like, I thank God every day that I wake up feeling this way. And I like, that's what I wake up to every morning. And I don't know, like, obviously I'm not always happy to hear my alarm, but like hearing that, like, yeah, I'm happy to be alive. Like, it's been a really, like, a very hands-on, like, yeah, I'm happy to be alive every day. So
That's
that's kind of,
awesome, man. I'm really glad you shared that. Cause yeah, that's something like, that's something I go back to, and people who listen to this regularly are going to know I talk about gratitude in most of these episodes, but that's because I really think the foundational piece of pursuing your best version of who you are in any area of life, no matter who you are, I think it does start with that piece of gratitude. Because if you're not grateful for what you already have, it's not as likely that you're going to be, excited about chasing more, because you're going to be coming out of that mindset of lack, or that mindset of just like,
yeah.
who cares? So
And that's something I definitely tend towards. I feel like I have a lot of catching up to do. I feel like I'm just never like, I can always do better. I can always do more. So taking the time to like, I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to be where I am. I'm grateful for the people that surround me, all that kind of thing. Like you said, it helps keep that grounding, even as you're seeking the next big thing, which is kind of I'm never content with where I'm at. I'm never content to like, okay, I've done it all. I'm done. So it's a level of grounding while also being able to still, reach for more, achieve, try to achieve more from a place of like just basic gratitude, like you said,
yeah,
just gratitude for the everyday.
I still am looking for, I want to find like a number of like, it's 80-20 or 90-10, where like, let's just say it's 90-10. 90% of the time I want to be in pure like love and appreciation, gratitude, like just go with the flow, have fun, live life. But then that 10%, I think about it like the dark side in Star Wars or the Sith, where it's
Yeah.
like that's that like, I know I can do more, I know I can be better, I know there's bigger things out there, because that does serve a purpose. Like I think there is a useful point to having that drive, but it's instilling it in your life in a healthy way that doesn't allow it to just run amok and take over like your life and take over your mindset and take you away from, like you're talking about, always going back to that grounding of like, yeah, like more would be amazing, and obviously that's what I'm going to strive for. But going back to like, I'm here, I'm healthy, I'm in the
Yeah.
moment, and that's enough.
And I would say, it depends on the person. Like some people need more of the other. I think it's a balance. You have to have that gratitude, but you also have to have that, wanting to do more. Like, somebody sitting on the couch eating potato chips, I'm sure they're perfectly happy with their life, but they don't have that drive for more. And you find so much more satisfaction in life, in your experiences, when you both have that gratitude and that, desire to become more, to be your best self, to do more, achieve more, that kind of thing. So, yeah, some people struggle with being grateful, with being happy with where they are. Some people struggle with others. Some people like me struggle with both. I think they're both really important to, constantly remind yourself you're in a good place, you're happy. And if you're not, to get there, to find that gratitude, that contentment. And then from there, you're able to pursue more. So.
100% agreed. All right. So this will be my last question before wrapping it up. And this is just out of my sheer curiosity as both an athlete and a coach, because and I told you beforehand, I've been following like your schedule since actually like looking you up at OCR World, and you've just been like hammering events since then. And I'm assuming that's kind of been before OCR Worlds as well. So
yeah, probably.
So what I'm curious about is like, what does your recovery routine look like? Because that's a lot of stuff, just like plain and simple. So like, do you have a recovery routine, or is your body just adapted to the point where it's like, oh, it's just another Tuesday. Let's go do this race?
My body definitely adapts, I think, faster and quicker than a lot of people. I would say I'm definitely genetically blessed. Like, I just don't struggle with a lot. Now, I will say when I first got into running, I had a lot of issues with my knees, with my IT bands. So I've definitely had to deal with injury recovery, that kind of thing. But the more knowledge I've gained in working out, recovery, all of that, I would say recovery, I mean, it comes down to listening to your body. I try to preload before a big effort. I try to give my body the best chance that it has. So I eat a lot, I drink a lot. I give my body I try to give my body the nutrients, the hydration it needs, so that it can take on big endeavors. And then I do a lot of stretching, foam rolling. My chiropractor says I never do enough, but I think I do more than a lot of people. And I think that helps a lot. The other thing too is just listening to my body in the days or couple days after any kind of hard effort, even leading up to it. Any activity that I do, it'll be zero expectations. I don't have any expectations. I don't have any big goals. I just want my body to be moving and be happy. So sometimes that looks like doing nothing for a day, sleeping in, taking an extra nap, whatever it is. I sleep a lot for recovery. That helps a lot. Other times, I did a 100-miler in Utah, and the next day I really wanted to go do Mount Timpanogos, which is right there in Salt Lake City. So then, after resting for that entire rest of the day, the next day I was like, everything feels fine enough. Let's go hike Mount Timpanogos. So it's 14 miles of hiking, some running, but zero time, zero time, just being outside, enjoying the outdoors. I mean, to me, 14 miles, that's kind of a lot to cover. It's also not a lot after running 100 miles. Anyways, but it's just, a matter of listening to yourself, also not giving yourself excuses. It's very little expectations, but also no excuses. If you can move, you should get out and go walk around. Your body appreciates that. Most bodies, at least, I would say. So yeah, it's really just kind of a pretty intuitive, I feel like moving, I feel like being outside. Let's go get outside. Let's go do something outside. Other times it's we'll just, walk a block and call it good. And, just kind of do regular life. I never like to sit in the whole, oh my gosh, everything hurts, I feel terrible. I'm very much all right, you're done. Let's move on. Again, but I would say, one, my body just kind of tends to handle that well. And I like to think I set myself up well for the hard efforts, and then also the recovery afterwards. I eat, I drink, I give myself what it needs to recover. So yeah, I don't really have a strict, oh, this is the magic, whatever. A lot of sleep. That's all I say. A lot of sleep, a lot of water. That fixes a lot of things anytime. So
yep. Sleep to me is the biggest one.
Yeah.
When I get a really good night's sleep, I might wake up feeling tight and sore, but I feel infinitely better. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
All right.
That always works.
So I've got one last question, and I ask this to everybody at the end. So for you right now in your life, what is
Mhm.
the next step in you pursuing your best self?
Oh, um, oh, that's a good one. It can go a lot of different directions. Um, I would say a lot of the physical achievements, challenges, the successes, they come fairly easily for me. All it takes is kind of like pointing and going, and like my body will kind of keep up. Um, it's been a bit of a journey for me to come to a place, just kind of to establish myself like mentally and like let me think of how I guess like to mentally ground myself. I'm very like, let's do the next thing, let's go to the next place. But kind of, I guess, like personal fulfillment, personal just kind of uh life satisfaction, like where my values, my goals lie. um Physically, it's really easy to like push the next thing, do the next thing. For me, it's the slowing down, the reading, the evaluating where I am in life, where I'm going in life. And those physical things, like, they happen, I do the next thing, it all, you know, it comes pretty easily. But it's coming back to who I am, who I want to be, and the values, the things that I hold as important. It's been a That's been probably the bigger thing that I've had to kind of like come to. I'm kind of in a little bit of a transition of, I spent several years here in this community, surrounded by a lot of good people that have helped build me like personally as just a human. And I'm kind of at a point now where I'm looking to transition to kind of the next thing, which brings me to like, I feel like I've kind of hit a point where like I know who I am as a person. I've kind of established some values and kind of know where I'm going. So I'm looking at like moving out of state, getting to I'm down like south of Houston, and there's really not a lot like outdoors to do, to see. But it's been a good place for me to be, to establish myself as a person. And, the physical, that all works out. But I guess the next kind of big thing for me is taking what I've learned, who I've become, and what I've established, and kind of moving to the next, being able to kind of take that to the next level of being somewhere that I really want to be, being somewhere physically that I really want to be. Um, I don't know if it really, yeah, that answers the question of like, I guess, establishing myself as a person. Like, as much as I find my identity in my physical pursuits and things that I achieve, that's not really who I am like as a person. And so it's taken me time to kind of establish that. And now I'm excited to kind of take me as a person and now pursue those physical things on a higher level. Hopefully, it's kind of the goal.
That's awesome. That's
Um,
very self-aware. I like it.
I try.
That's
I
very
love.
good. Well, all right. So that is all I have for you. But before we go, I just want to let you know it is not easy to get on my radar when it comes to getting on this. I'm very big on not just people who are excelling in a certain area, but people who I genuinely believe are good people who want to help others. And in just sitting down and chatting for what, 40 minutes ish, it's really obvious that like you're someone who, yes, you bring the intensity, but you do it in a way that's so like lighthearted and fun and grateful that I just really hope, anyone listening to you, I hope you understand like that is so amazing that you're able to use such like light energy of like having fun, being grateful, and channeling it into like dominating in all these different areas. And just to see someone who's performing at the level you're performing and how like normal of a human being you are, I think sometimes it's easy to like when people will see the stuff that you're doing, it's easy to say like, oh, well, they're just, they think differently, they act differently. But like you're a normal person with normal thoughts, and you're just going through life doing it the best way you can. And the fact that you're able to do what you do the way you do it at such a high level, I think is just so inspiring.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. That means a lot. I definitely would not be here without the people in my life. My parents have been a huge influence in that. And then the community I have here, the owner of Grit Fitness, I would say Kenny Stanford has been like has had a huge impact on really. And everybody that's around him, he sees the potential in those people and really like finds a lot of satisfaction in pulling that potential out. So I have a lot of, I wouldn't be here where I am today if it weren't for him. And there's a lot of people that could probably say the same. So yeah, it's definitely not something I've done on my own by any extent. So yeah, just thankful for the people that are around me, and yeah, excited to see what's next.
As am I. Well, Kris, thank you for coming on here. Everybody listening, as always, if you've made it to this point, extra props. 40-ish minutes, I think, is, a good investment of time to put in. But Kris is someone who has a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience to share when it comes to, living a life that's channeled by gratitude, pursuing the intensity while sticking with the consistency. And I know that if you got to this point, you got a lot out of it, but I still always appreciate anyone who takes their time out to focus on bettering themselves in any way, shape, or form. So thank you, everybody, for listening. This is on YouTube. So again, whatever there is, like, subscribe, do all that. This is a free resource. I'm not getting paid to do this. I don't care to get paid to do this. For me, this is about reaching as many people as possible. And so by subscribing, by liking, by sharing, heck, if you have questions or comments, throw them in the comments. We want to get this in front of as many eyes as possible and just really create a movement of self-developers who are all in on pursuing their best self. But until next time, have a good one.